Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week of State of the Market. No, not State of the Market. What are we doing?
It's Friday Night Live.
Friday Night Live. Let me go again.
Go again, but hit us up with that rugby league tone first.
Is that the one?
No. Yeah. That's the one. That's the one.
Crone's getting a split. Mizzy in front of the 100. Crone goes up the inside and Crone takes the lead in the Kilmore. Crone draws clean out from Mizzy. It's a Queensland victory. Crone beat Mizzy.
Short and sharp, yeah? Short episode today.
Ladies and gentlemen, another Friday Night Live. I am Mark Vittori, joined by co-host Sean Floyd P. What are we talking about today, Shawnee?
Well, Mark, it's always a delight when it's you and I back in the cowboy room discussing strategies, investments. I've got some great feedback from people that have watched some of our previous episodes together.
Yes.
People have sort of sent me messages about, hey, I liked this part, I liked that part. So word's getting out there, even though producer Ryan, we're not actively marketing this segment. We're just sort of leaving it out there for, the library per se. In terms of what we're talking about today, coming back to the point, is the art of decision making, or the art of productive decision making that I would like to decipher a little bit. So, what are your thoughts on the topic in general? On top of the fact that it is a quite wide array of what could be dived into.
I think for me, this topic is actually a good one. I like this one. I think you can tell.
As opposed to every other topic in the past.
Yeah, I like every topic. I'm very biased towards our topics. But in all seriousness, I think this one is a really good one because I think it applies, put real estate to the side or anything that we work with professionally, just life in general. All right. Some of the best decisions ever can be made like that. All right. And they change your life for the better, for good. And some of the worst decisions as well can also be done within that same time frame. So I think it's, the left and the right brain scenario, the emotion against the logic, things like that. I'm certainly not too familiar with it, to be fair, and which one is which. But I do know that, we do make different decisions depending on what type of brain side we favour and whatnot. I think, I guess decision making, with a deadline in place, a very hard deadline, for anything you decide to do in life can be a super, super big advantage depending on how you look at it. And I think, again, like I said, it applies to everything in life,
And you emphasised a really important point there, Mark. You mentioned the word deadline. And what I think is important about the word deadline is sometimes in life decisions, let's say non-business, non-property, non-commercial, life doesn't sort of knock on your door, drop you a mail in the post saying, here's the deadline to make that decision on whether you're moving your house. Life doesn't say, here's the deadline on what you're going to be doing or deciding to do with your super.
Yeah.
These are life decisions that we sort of decide, okay, I'll do them when maybe the time's right, maybe when the circumstances is right. We speak to a lot of our buyers that, that magical day will never come where you have the perfect portfolio, a giant rainy day fund, you love your job, your wife loves you a lot, and your kids are the happiest with you. That day doesn't exist, where you've got the biggest emergency buffer in the world, and business is going good, and your investments are going good, and everyone around you loves you so much. That day, unfortunately, even though don't get me wrong, those days do exist. I'm sure everyone's had those lucky streaky days where they appear once in a while. They might last all of about 4 hours, or they might last all of about just a 24-hour blip in the year.
Yes.
It's where people blame or expect that to be the circumstances of decision making. Although let's try a little philosophical twist to the equation here.
Yep.
What if the right decision making led to that magical day instead of waiting for the magical day to make the right decisions? What are your thoughts on something like that?
No, I think that's very well put, and something that will certainly get the audience thinking. That's for sure.
In other news, JR Film Studios presents.
No, but I think that's you make a super good point, right? To say the least, there, where look, if we speak on our own experiences, we can probably certainly say that fast decision making, whether it be ripping the Band-Aid off something and saying, right, I'm not going to go through that stress anymore, or whether it be I got a vision of it, I'm going to do it, and you go and do it, and it certainly doesn't turn out what you thought it was for the first 5 minutes, but later on down the track, with a bit more faith and persistence and whatnot, it actually starts turning into what you originally visualized, and you go, wow, this is yeah, this is all thanks to that moment in time where I made that decision. And I think a lot of people, it's interesting. I was driving to work the other day, driving to the office, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, at what point, if you come from nothing, and you've got the vision board set up, you've got the milestones in place, you've got everything lined up to say, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to own X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do this, and blah 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 blah, and have this magical life drawn out. But let's talk about it from a real estate perspective, just owning a portfolio of some sizable nature. All right, how do you get to that certain position without going through the struggle? Now, we're not here to talk about struggle or anything like that, but I thought about it and I was like, well, this is a perfect time.
Which is a great topic, by the way, for next week's discussion, Producer Ryan, if you want to make a note of that the struggle in between where you want to be versus where you are.
Absolutely.
That's a great topic to talk about next time.
Let's note that down.
Yep.
So I guess what really dawned on me was the fact that it was like, okay, what we're going through now, just this very moment in time with interest rates and the world's crumbling and everything's doomsday, this is all part of it, right? Because if we don't push ourselves through these tougher times, we're really not going to go anywhere. Right. Forget whether markets go up or down and they're out of reach later on down the track. It's got to start somewhere, right? It's not an easy task. It's not an easy feat. And again, as they always say, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it, which certainly makes sense. But, those brash decisions, I mean, I did one with you a couple of years ago, right? And it was probably one of the best decisions we made, right? And that was in regards to an acquisition I made as well. It was not really thought about. It was just like, you know what, Sean, yeah, I understand the concept. Bang, let's go. Jumped into it.
I'd say that it was thought about from the sense that there was a framework in place and there wasn't much thought given to question the framework.
True.
So the decision-making process in your element was a speedy one.
Yes.
And what you mentioned a few phrases ago was that good decision-making sometimes is quick decision-making. I had a previous mentor teach me that, and he used to openly tell investors the same concept, is that good decision-making is timely decision-making. It doesn't mean you rush into something. It means you do it in a timely manner. So it's like if you and I sit down today and we decide, okay, let's have a drink. We need to have a couple of properties in the next 5 years, but we execute that decision after 50 years. That's not timely decision making. But it doesn't mean you do it this afternoon.
Correct.
But elaborate on your story where you had mentioned that there was not too much deliberation on something, but for the behind the scenes viewers, there was maybe a framework in place. You
100%.
knew that there were your book of clients going to that location, achieving certain level of results. What followed that though was unanticipated level of success in that short span of time.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. You actually hit the nail on the head, Sean, where let's say, for example, you do your research on things, whatever it may be in life. You do your research. There's a lot of information these days on anything in the world. But let's say, for example, if we're looking at numbers, right, and we're looking at an asset to buy, the numbers are X. This is what it's done in the last 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is that you want to measure on. They're not going to change. You can go to 50 different websites. They're still going to be the same numbers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How much more can we draw out that due diligence, let's just say, all right? And what more do we need to do? Who's living there? What's happening there? What's going on here? So on and so forth. Once you get that information, I mean, and if you are, very headstrong about saying, right, I'm making this decision and that's it. Usually you absorb that information like that as well. Because when you want to say, oh, let me digest. I mean, we all know that that's just excuses just to say, I was never going to execute anytime soon anyway.
True.
Digesting, don't get me wrong, in regards to information, still needs to be done. But if you tell me, Mark, invest into an area over here because there's 10% growth and you're going to get a 5% rental yield, I'm going to say, okay, well, I'll have a look at 1 or 2 articles online. Yeah, Sean was right. Okay. I'm not going to wait any longer. If it means it makes financial sense for me, I'm going to take it. And that's probably, going back to your framework, is that saying the framework shouldn't need to be longer than a short period of time, depending on what it is, of course.
Yeah, and I think that muscle memory you have of decision making from your personal angle, my personal angle, people that are, let's say, experienced in being in that position time and again, it's almost tough for people to fathom this if they've never done it before. And the reason I say it is, I've always believed that human beings at the end of the day still make decisions emotionally, but they use the logic to rationalize the conclusion of it. For example, the logic at the end of the day is, oh, the statistics were great. When you really get down to the nitty-gritty of things, it's, yeah, my friend did it, so I did it as well. And why did that decision happen was because there was trust from one party to another party.
Yeah.
Why do most people buy from certain real estate professionals is because they trust that person. They trust that person's intentions. Let's say the framework's 9 out of 10, but the trust is 10 out of 10. The deal's going to happen.
Yep.
So I think this is something where decision-making overall can become muscle memory where it should be made on logic. But at the end of the day, if it's your first ever time doing something in, let's say, the real estate space or buying your own home, it's almost always, I'd say, tilted to that emotional versus logical. It's tilted more to the emotional side.
Absolutely.
And everyone's got a weapon of logic to battle up when the questions come up going, why this house? Why not that house? Oh, because this one was close to the station. Great, Mr. Client. How many times do you use the station every week? 0. You get what I mean, producer Ryan?
Yeah.
Without trying to be comical.
No, yeah, you're right.
And then you know what the best thing about human beings is? When they've made an emotional decision that they resonate with, your brain will find logical reasons to combat the questioning.
So we would say,
Yep.
Trust is a logical move.
Ooh, very interesting topic.
Yes,
This is hitting a heartstring here. I mean, is it? Is it not?
Because I don't think it is.
Correct.
All right. I
Correct.
think we're on the same page there.
Correct,
So
yeah.
I think we can both agree that trust is certainly an emotional driven decision,
Sure.
right?
Compared to the amount of logic involved, yes.
Because how many people have trusted someone in the past and maybe trusted them for years, decades, and then they did them dirty?
Sure.
Well, maybe they didn't do them dirty in the person that they trust's eyes, but in their own eyes, they saw it and they go, well, he did me dirty. And he's going, oh, I didn't do anyone dirty.
Absolutely.
I did what I needed to do from a logical standpoint. Right?
So true. This is a good sort of. I'd say this is these are the slight nuances within the decision-making world. The effect of trust and whether that is logic or emotion. How much of trust do you think is actually logic, though? And we can play this from a biological perspective. Okay, let's say we find a stray dog on the street, you and I.
Yep.
What do? Let's say we see battle scars on it, so it knows it's a bit afraid. You approach close by and it gets all aggressive. So you walk away, you give it its space, you don't crowd over it, you give it a little bit of water, it tries water first, then you give it a little bit of food. It doesn't trust you, but it eats the food, then it gets comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, what are our intentions behind the scenes? Let's say we wanted to sell that dog off to a dog trade, just for example's sake. What does the dog see? Is going, I trust this person because the
Correct.
logic is telling me step A is he gave me shelter,
Yep.
gave me water,
Yep.
now he's giving me a little bit of tuna. I like. So there's this whole world of, we're still using logical steps when it comes to trust. Let's say you introduce me to someone for a commercial buying asset, and I automatically trust enough to deal with that situation with a certain level of importance because I trust you. But it doesn't mean I have logic to trust that person apart from the fact that there's a connection, right?
Correct. And I think even if we look at our book of clients as an example, everyone there is all trustworthy of our decision making for them, number one. But number two, the relationships that we've developed with them, every single one of them individually, is fantastic. Even the ones that we didn't get along with had still walked away, shook hands. Everyone said, yeah, you know what? We're not meant to be friends, but that's okay. You're not a bad person. Neither are you. Right. And that was great. And it's good to see that because, again, you know, we can all walk away from let's say an argument and say, hey, you know, they're not my cup of tea, but they're not a non-trustworthy person. Right. They can see the intent there was genuine the whole time. And I think that's, you know, again, going back to the topic as well, like, you know, making decisions as well and trust, all of that logic or trust or understanding, due diligence, however you may call it, really does need to be an upfront exercise within your own time. And you'll never be able to ask someone. I can't ask producer Ryan, do I trust Sean? I need to get that from going out with Sean and having a connection. I need to have, what's the word I'm looking for? Interactions, right? I need to have interactions with you, business, personal, whatever they may be. So go, yes, I trust Sean, right? And that's the same with, I mean, how many people come to us and go, I got referred by a friend and blah, blah, blah. And whether they want to work with us or not is a completely different story. But let's say 9 times out of 10, they usually do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that trust has already been instilled from day one. They've already done their due diligence on us. They've already looked at us on LinkedIn and checked out the profiles and see who's who in the zoo and whatnot. But, that's how I think, again, bringing it back to topic, when it comes to decision making, we need to act because we do it without even recognizing in everyday things that we get around with.
I think we do, and that's why brands understand decision making. You're not going to question a CBA when a loan is approved to go.
Yeah.
Is that loan legitimate?
Yeah.
Are those funds going to be available? All I see is a letter. How do I know those funds are going to be available for me?
Yep.
You know?
That's very true.
And producer Ryan, at the end of the day, there's a question: do you believe humanity is inherently good? Nice, good response. What about you, Mark?
Yes.
Inherently.
I'll say yes.
Nice.
I think. Look, to be fair, no one ever. You got to look at a baby when it's first born. Hey, and by the way, guys, Keshav has had a baby boy.
Congratulations!
Congratulations to Kesh.
That's amazing news.
When this airs, it may be the same week or the week after, but you guys will know about it. So if you are in contact with Kesh or have been in the past, give him a message and congratulate him.
Send the love and the hugs, guys.
And send me the champers.
Oh, please.
But look, I think going back to what I was going to say is, if you look at a baby at birth, there's zero understanding of the world. Doesn't know what right and wrong is. Doesn't understand what trust is. Doesn't understand what making a logical decision is either.
Sure.
So I think, when we look at, let's say, the human race, if we're going down that path at the moment, are we, and I guess your question going back to it was, are we trustworthy essentially?
Are we inherently good?
Good.
Trustworthy?
Think we are.
Sure.
Yes.
Inherently.
I think we are. Absolutely.
And of course, like I know the world we live in is built on a set of constructs that is very tough to adhere to being good.
Yep.
For example, corporate culture, profit driving, cut out, the families that are unneeded, replace them with robots. It's a business decision.
Yep.
But is a human inherently good where they see a baby stranded in the forest and no one's there looking after them? Would we inherently feel that need to go and look after them and provide, even if it meant our own lives in danger? I believe that more of us than not are. And there's something that happens in life when you take that mentality forward, which is, like you mentioned, we might not get along with someone, but we have a cup of tea and we don't talk down their trustworthiness. We just say that it's not our cup of tea, but we like and respect you as a person and we wish you all the best all the time. When that comes out genuinely, I feel that there's still more people that wish that way than not. Even though we see bitter things, we're hammered with bitter things on the media, wrong stories, bad publicity, bad examples of companies, bad examples of human beings. But if you operate with the form of thought, it almost makes every day that little bit more fulfilling. And it's funny how all these topics we speak boil down to almost a philosophical discussion at the end of the day, which is really strange. Today's suggestion was producer Ryan's. But the art of decision making, I think it boils down to, because decision making would be made differently if that belief on the inherent question I asked was the other way around. Don't you think?
I agree. No, I agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Pretty much the whole conversation, you've really hit the nail on the head, Sean, to be honest. And I think that's why, again, as humans, we really do convolute our own brain up front before doing anything. I can be from time to time, I'm sure you can, everyone can, right? There's periods of our life where we complicate things so much. And I think it's, there was a book I was reading some while ago. Anyway, I'll think about it and we'll put it in as a link in the comments. But talking about how the human race, we find ourselves sometimes on a very nice, open, flat plane. We feel good, comfortable with life, and then automatically the brain switches and says, I need to create drama.
If you've been in relationships, it's a common playing ground, right? Things are good for 3 days. Oof, that's 3 days too long.
But
I know all you guys laughing at home know exactly what I mean too, so laugh out loud.
The boys.
But they'll pretend not to laugh if the partners are watching the podcast as well.
I
don't know what this looks like.
But it's the truth, right? We go out of our way mentally without or subconsciously without even realising to just like explode things and create that drama, because we do need something like the you put a dog in a sheep yard. It's not killing the sheep because it's hungry. It's killing it for fun. you know,
Sure.
creating that drama. So I think we do that. And again, bringing it back to making decisions, if we can bypass that and be self-conscious of the fact that our body naturally sometimes wants to complicate things, try to simplify it when we're making a decision. Now, I think that'll make it a quick wrap for today. We're gonna do
Absolutely.
a short and sharp one. We like doing them.
Absolutely. That was beautiful.
We do have a round robin. Do we?
We do.
Do we? I don't know. Do we?
Actually, the round robin today was covered within the podcast. It's, do we believe humanity is inherently good? And the answer was yes, yes, yes. Tres yes,
So
amigos. Yes.
That was
yes.
a big round robin. 20-minute round robin.
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
like it. Well, that'll leave us for this week. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Again, congratulate Kesh if you deal with him or have dealt with him in the past. He has had a beautiful, healthy baby boy this week. And we look forward to seeing you probably next week, same time.
Au revoir.
Ciao.